Hello, listeners of Graduating Without a Plan. Happy Memorial Day. I was supposed to record this a full week ago. Once again, we're a week behind, but thanks for your patience and understanding. Because if you take a look at me, if you're watching the video version of this, you can see that I'm still a freaky mess. I have not recovered since last time. Okay, where do I dive in, guys? There's been a lot to dive into. So for starters, a clip from my last podcast episode that I talked about my adventures with Cody Simpson and my incident of winning the contest to meet him but never actually meeting him. I posted it on TikTok, a small clip of it, and it went viral, which is of course a podcaster's dream. Granted, did it translate to any views on the actual podcast? No, but it did result in literally 450,000 fangirls of Cody Simpson commenting on my post to encourage him to finally meet me. Also to tell me that I look like Meghan Trainor, which, hey, do I love being compared to a successful woman? Yeah. But did it give me an existential crisis and an identity crisis thinking, I thought I looked like Emy, right? I thought I looked like Emy. Apparently, I looked like the All About the Bass girl. I don't see that. Because listen, again, not going to say anything negative, but I just don't think I look like my dream. Like, I don't know. I get it. We both have a square face, okay? We both have kind of small mouths. I just thought I was an independent, unique looking person. And I lived my life. My confidence was revolving around the idea that I'm just a unique looking person, right? I always said, I don't really fit into the mold. I'm not that traditional, kind of conventional pretty. I'm a unique pretty, right? Which is what makes me pretty. And everyone's like, no, JK, you're not original at all. You look like Meghan Trainor and you look like Joey King. And it's not like, oh, I got one or two comments of this. I got hundreds of comments of this. That's the problem when a video goes viral. You get hundreds of comments and you just never know what you're going to get. This is a video about Cody Simpson. Why are you guys saying I look like Meghan Trainor? Also, my last viral video that I had that was like to that extent, I had one other video that was that big and it was the viral one about the Tennessee X. And people had said I looked like Meghan Trainor on that one too. So now I'm really sold on it. And I was going around with people in my life and saying like, do you think I look like... I was like, can you just lie to me? Can you just tell me I'm original and unique and beautiful? Like, tell me I'm one of a kind, you know? Whatever. So that was that. Since then, I've been waiting for Cody to respond. I was so flattered by the outpouring of love that I have received from this like dead fan. Like this fan base was in hibernation ever since he dropped off of the face of the earth in the music industry and just decided to be an Olympic swimmer. And I feel like they just rose out of the ashes like a phoenix to back me on this. And so many people were not only commenting on my post, they were commenting on his posts. They were reposting my post. Like, they just want me to meet him so bad. And it has been, however, over a week, almost, I think just about 2 weeks, and we have not heard from him. His brother did comment on the post, and his mom. So I'm feeling like he saw it and just was like, this bitch is crazy. I was like, I actually don't want to meet her. I actually just don't want to meet her, you know? So, I don't know, and I was telling myself, oh, he maybe hasn't been on TikTok, yada, 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 but he just posted yesterday for the first time since my video was posted, so he has been on TikTok, and he likely has seen the video. So, am I a little devastated? Yes. Do I dislike Cody Simpson? No. Am I hoping that he's strategically waiting for a publicity move when he puts out his new music? Yeah. Is 14-year-old me still like, Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm a little sad about it, but yeah. That did become my entire identity for the last 2 weeks, I think. Other than that, I was going to some concerts. I was going to concerts again with my sister's friends. I like them a lot. They're actually really nice to me. Just... you never know what you're going to get when you go to the city, you know, because they asked me about this podcast. I don't know if they listen. If you guys are listening, turn it off. Just turn it off. But yeah, so I had gone to a couple of concerts. One of them was Brutalismus, which is a German techno, screamo, hardstyle kind of group. And that's the one I went to with them. It was at the Avant Garden Center, which is one of my favorite venues. Even though that particular management, they do the Mirage, they did Izu, they do this Avant Garden. They are so chaotic. Like the whole incident with Izu, if you don't know about the incident with Izu, they basically threw this giant music festival that was basically like fire. What was that? Fire festival? It just, the tickets were oversold. It was chaos. It was just insane. I was there. I went to Izu 3 years in a row, and I loved every single time I went. And even the time that was a disaster, it was still fun, but they lost a ton of money, and I think they're never going to do it again, which was really a shame. And they also have these 2 other venues, which in my opinion are the best venues for that style of music, because I'll get into it later, but other venues just are not nearly as efficient. Like they have it down to such a science where you don't even stand online. You just walk right through, you just scan in, it's whatever. So in terms of the concert, it was a fantastic experience. I had a lot of fun with my sister's friends, and some of their friends were very nice, but you know, the city, it's like you kind of get a mixed group, you know. Some people, like, they look like they look at me, I think, like I'm a bumblefuck, you know. Like I walk in, I have a Hawaiian shirt on, so naturally I'm standing out, right? These girls are in like see-through shirts, and I'm like, hey guys, I just came from Long Island, like, and most of them are from outer staters who now live in New York City because they have some like corporate job or whatever. And I don't know, I think I stand out. But I'll tell you, this was just, I have another mysterious rash, which this is also another side note, but it ties in. I've had several mysterious rashes this week. One of them, you can see a little bit right here. I'm pretty sure it's bug bites. I'm not sure if it's bug bites. I have scratches all over my arms. I also have this big patch, which you probably can't even say in this lighting. It's a big white patch, right? And it was on this arm as well. And there were little red patches within that white patch. I've had this, if you've been following along to this podcast, I always have mysterious rashes. Usually they're on my face. I usually get mysterious rashes on my face, but they were all down my arms this time. So naturally, I'm asking my mom, I'm asking my dad. They don't know what the heck it is. I'm asking, you know, I'm like, oh, I should go to a dermatologist. I make an appointment. They're like, you have to wait a month. So I'm like, all right, I'm going on Google, right? So I'm on Google looking up what could this potential rash be. I thought of everything from allergic reaction to eczema to ringworm. Okay, so I settled on ringworm, which, before you say that's fucking disgusting, because I was under the impression that you could really only get, because, okay, when you hear someone has a fungal rash, your first thought is like, you're fucking disgusting, right? However, that's like the rash that a lot of the wrestlers would get, right? I remember kids in wrestling would say they would get it from the mats, and it's usually just from like being, I think it's like being surrounded, like if there's like a damp surface, like, or damp, like you could get it from like towels, you could get like damp towels or damp mats, or like at the gym, like if it's a sweaty, damp surface, you can get it from cats, apparently. I'm allergic to cats, so I have not been exposed to a cat. So the first step of thinking that I had ringworm was talking myself off the ledge, thinking like, am I a fucking disgusting person? And I was like, no, I think I just got this at the gym because I also live at Planet Fitness part-time. So I settled that it was ringworm. I was putting on lotion, like the dollar store, like cream, thinking like the athlete's foot cream. And it kind of was going away in the sense that it was less itchy, but it has not gone away, clearly. So I did keep the dermatologist appointment. I'm going to see him this week, because last time I went to him, he gave me a cream for my face that worked well. So I don't know where I keep getting these rashes. However, the way this comes full circle, as it always does, I'm at this freaking concert, right? But the kids behind me are like doing cocaine and shit. And I'm there like, whoa, what's going on? I am itchy as fuck, right? trying to be really low key about it because I don't want people to think I'm disgusting. Like saying like, what's this girl with in a tie? It not only is she wearing a, not even tie-dye shirt. Why is she wearing a Hawaiian shirt? Not only, she now also has a mysterious rash that she's scratching aggressively at the concert, right? So I'm trying to be real discreet about it. I'm like, okay, keep in mind, actually, I used this concert as a spiritual release. So I purposely dedicated this time to get really drunk, basically, because as I've discussed on this podcast before, I do view alcohol as a spiritual drug, and I drink pretty clear alcohol. I drank like all clear alcohols. I drank no sugar in alcohol. Like I just did shots. I actually brought jelly jars, you know, like diner jelly jars. I brought those filled with tequila so that I would be set. And I just took like 3 clean shots, had like a White Claw or something to wash it down, or 2 or 3. I'm not really sure. I did lose track, but it was all good. It went down well, is what I'm saying. It went down well, and I was in another dimension, right? And with that music, you're just like, eyes closed, sunglasses on. I don't care who's around me, kind of just whatever. So I was vibing, but I was extremely itchy. So I was just trying to like not itch, right? In my head, I was like, I'm in another zone. And every time I got the urge to itch, I was like, nope, not going to do that because they're going to judge me, right? Meanwhile, at these types of concerts, you're rubbing up against people, you're shoulder to shoulder. So all I'm thinking, these kids behind me are doing cocaine, and my biggest worry, besides potentially getting arrested for being in the presence of them, was everyone here's getting ringworm. I think I just gave everyone at avant-garde a ringworm. If it's ringworm, right? It might just be eczema. I don't know. Because it's like apparently touch to touch. You could get it from touch to touch. But I haven't given it to anyone else. So that's why I'm not sure. I don't think it is ringworm because I haven't given it to anybody. Like, nobody in my life has gotten it. Like, don't you think my parents, if they're in the house with me using the same towels, they would get it? Like, I don't know. Whatever. So, hey, if you were at that concert and you got ringworm, sorry. Anyway. I went to another concert too. I saw Empire of the Sun, which was sick because I love Empire of the Sun. They're the ones who are like, I can't do well if I think you're gonna like everybody knows them and doesn't realize they know them. That concert was kind of a disaster though because they literally went for 1 hour. They only went for 1 hour. I drove all the way to Brooklyn, 2 hours, almost 2 hours each way, and they only sang for an hour. And it's funny because as someone who also sings for a living on a very different scale, I'm used to singing for like 4 hours at a fucking winery. Like, I show up and I'm like, yeah, like, let's go. They sing for 1 hour, they leave. I'm like, I cannot wait until the day where I'm making 25 times the money for singing 1/4 of the time. Like, oh, what a life that must be. They just go up and they have a good time and they leave. And they leave. Like, they go home, whatever. So, anyway, I don't think I gave anyone ringworm there, even though that place was overcrowded. But I wasn't as free-flowing. I wasn't rubbing up against as many people. It was under the K Bridge, which was a cool venue, but it kind of sucked because they have those big columns in the way. Whatever, you guys don't care. Anyway, I think, so let's go back to my rashes. These ones, the bites, I'm convinced that these are bites. I thought it was poison ivy because I've been doing a tremendous amount of gardening. So my side quest, if you guys didn't know this, I don't think I've ever spoken about this. It's like a long story short. I had worked for a family, like basically babysitting, or not babysitting, but I worked kind of like as a babysitter / kind of like personal assistant within their house. Like I just kind of would like help drive the kids to appointments or like pick them up from stuff or like just anything that needed to be done in the house I would do. Anything that was just helpful to the family. So I you know, eventually the kids like went to college. They didn't really need that kind of help anymore. But I really like that. I love this family, right? They're like family to me, you know, kind of. And the dad, he's just like a really, can I get into this? Okay. Let's just get into this because it's actually very significant in my life. So this guy, Pete, right? His name's Pete. He's, you know, he runs a company. He's a super successful guy, super like all over the place, high energy individual. Like he literally lives on cappuccinos and mojitos, and I actually have never seen him consume real food other than cappuccinos and mojitos. An occasional tortilla chip, but like that's really it. And he's just go, go, go kind of guy. So he had said to me, like, do you do anything else? Like that you could, you know, besides kind of like childcare or whatever. And at that time I was working at Smith's Point Beach, which was a really fun job for me, which I'll get into later. That basically I was the gardener at a beach. And you say gardener at a beach? Yeah, well, there was a memorial on that beach for Flight 800, which if you don't know what Flight 800 was, it was a tragic plane crash that happened just over the Long Island Sound, and there was a couple hundred people on the flight and no one survived, and it was just tragic. So they made a memorial right on the beach for them with like flower beds and all this stuff. And I was essentially the only person who worked there because I worked with two other Ukrainians who, one of them was the boss who he basically just like chain smoked Camel cigarettes and like watched YouTube videos on his phone and would just tell me like, go weed or whatever. Go weed, you know, he goes like, go weed. And then this one other girl who, Masha was her name, who I loved, who she was a little bit older than me, and she was just a funny girl because she was such a girly girl, right? Like she was the type of woman who, one, was beautiful, and she was just that typical Slavic woman. Like she had her nails done, we're doing gardening, right? And she has her nails done, she has her hair done, highlighted, she's got the lash extension, she's got the, you know, like she just should really not be working at a gardening place. She should be like a stay-at-home mom who's getting like who's like going out to lunch with her friends as her job. You know what I mean? Like she just didn't belong there. And half the time, like, you know, the guy Vova would be like, oh, like, okay, like go weed, the Marushat, go do this. And she would go, I've got to go smoke. I got to go smoke. And she would disappear for like 3 fucking hours. Who even know where she was? And I would just be in the garden like, like doing my thing, having the time of my life, being around the flowers, trimming the rose bushes, pulling weeds, you know, washing the wood, like just doing whatever needed to be done. And I had such a great summer there. I did 2 summers there, and granted I got paid like basically nothing, but I had a really fun time, and it was a really great time for me to do, oh my god, my computer died. That's so sad. I was recording on my computer, whatever. I hope this stays. Anyway, it was a really fun time for me to just kind of just be in my thoughts, and I think that's what gardening always did for me, was that it gave, like, you know, I was listening to a ton of music, I was listening to a lot of podcasts. That's kind of how I got back into Christianity and kind of got it in a better understanding of God and Jesus, because I was listening to a lot of podcasts about it. So anyway, that's just kind of a side note of my background in gardening. I have so many crazy stories from Smith's Point. There was just so much. I mean, it was just so, oh gosh. Well, I mean, because also when you work on a beach, you're exposed to everything that's going on at the beach too. So like one of the summers, there were 2 shark attacks at the beach that I was there for. And, you know, because a lot of those shark attacks happen early in the morning because the sharks feed in the morning and the night. And I was there at 6 a.m. every day, and I saw these, you know, people coming out at the beach, you know, bitten or whatever. My cousin was actually one of the guys who got bitten, and it was like this big drama or whatever. I used to hang out with the EMTs, and they saw a lot of crazy stuff because the beach that I was working at was kind of nestled in a area that is not known for being a good area. It's a little bit sus, like pretty historically. And so they would see crazy things, like coming over the bridge to Smith Point Beach. Like, there was one day where a car came flying over the bridge, because there was a bridge. There was like a small inlet that separated like the mainland from the beach. And a car just came flying over the bridge one day. And so naturally the EMTs, and crashed. And then the EMTs rushed out, and the guy was dead behind the wheel before he ever crashed, because he had a gunshot wound. And so someone must have shot him while he was going down the highway. And he just kept going, because I guess his foot was on the pedal or whatever. And like stuff like that, or like, you know, they do the triathlon every year. You know, one guy, he has a heart attack mid the water, and like who sliced their foot open, like sliced it open on a shower, like just crazy things that they saw at that beach, and that I saw at that beach. I had so many connections with people, because also when you're working at a memorial, people who come to visit the memorial, it was always amazing how many people would fly from out of state to come visit. Or, you know, people would come up to me and say, I remember being, similar to 9/11, they would be like, I remember where I was that day, or I remember seeing it on the news. And there was all this controversy about, I can't remember if I ever talked about this on this podcast, but there's all this controversy about if the flight had been shot down by the US government, because it was kind of around the time of 9/11, and there was a lot of like controversy and war going on in the Middle East and stuff. So people thought maybe it had been shot down by an enemy, and that the US government was trying to hide it, or that the US government had accidentally shot it down because we had a military base not too far away that was doing like practice, what are they called, like they were practicing that day. And I was just crazy things. So people feel so open up to you. Guys, I have to pee so bad. Can you hold on 1 second? Hold on, stay. I'll be 1 minute. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I bet you've never seen that on a podcast. Unfortunately, I can't edit that out because I have no storage on this phone, so I can't edit shit. So you're just gonna have to deal with that. Anyway, what was I talking about? This is so on brand for me. Whatever. I almost peed my pants. That was sudden. You know when you're fine, and all of a sudden you're like, I think I'm gonna pee my... Anyway, it's late. I should be tired of that. So anyway, yes, Miss Point. It was just... people would feel so comfortable to come up and I think speak to me about their experience. And because of that, I met so many people and had so many different perspectives from particularly that incident. And I became really emotionally invested in it. And I had actually started a project where I collected flowers. I took like clippings of the flowers from the memorial and I pressed them in books. And then I would draw photos, because we had collections of photos of the people in the crash. And I would draw pictures of them and then put like a pressed flower next to it. Like it just meant a lot to me. Whatever. However, this is the last story I'll tell about Smith Point for now, but oh no, I have two. There's this one guy who ended up coming to work with us, and I won't name names, and I won't get too into his issues, but he had some issues. He was a little off his rocker, right? And he apparently had a drinking problem, but we didn't know that obviously when we hired him. So he had come to work, and he was always really nice to me, but you know, you could tell he was a little out there, you know? The one day that I wasn't there, I was devastated. He ended up going and getting fired because he showed up to work, I guess belligerently drunk, and then fought with the security guards and apparently fought with people on the beach. It was a whole big drama. However, My interactions with him was that he had never seen poison ivy before. He was from Russia. He had never seen poison ivy for whatever reason. I guess they don't have poison ivy in Russia. No, they do, but he had just never seen it. And I tried to explain to him the concept of like poison ivy. I'm like, you can't touch it because the oil will give you rash. And so he goes, well, how do I know if I'm going to get one? And I'm like, well, it's just, you know it. So he was like, well, I want to know what it's like. So he actually took the poison ivy and like spread it on his arm. I don't know if he ever got poison ivy because he got fired shortly after. I think that next weekend when I didn't see him. But the best story was when we planted all these flowers. So we planted about $10,000 of flowers a year, annual flowers. And the girl who's Russian, and I guess it doesn't matter now because we've all been out of that job and whatever for a while now. She one day put, this is the theory. Actually, it's not legal because we don't even know if this is accurate, but this is the theory. She had sprayed deer spray on the plants because there was deer. There's rampant deer in the area. All the plants died. $10,000 worth of annual plants shriveled up and died. There were theories that there was fungus. There was theories that they were not watered properly. There was many theories. There's theories that the deer spray was toxic to them. However, there was also a theory that instead of deer spray, she accidentally sprayed Roundup. That was the most likely theory because she also didn't speak English super well, and she may have got the labels messed up. So we ended up replanting all the flowers. Like, whatever. These are things that were like, they're iconic in my head. I don't think they matter to you. Anyway, can I get back to the point, how this all comes again, full circle, that I've been working now doing landscaping for this guy. And I've been doing it like kind of on and off for the past couple of years. Like I did kind of things for them. Like I would plant flower bulbs for them in the fall. And then, you know, where I last year or the year before, I would come over and help weed the gardens and whatnot. But this year I kind of started doing it more seriously because the guy Pete, he was just like, I want this to be a botanical garden. So I was like, okay, let's freaking do it. I planted 5,000 flower bulbs in the fall, 5,000 of them. And if you're wondering how, yeah, I did it by hand. Okay. I had a drill. I did have a drill that would help make some of the holes. But for the most part this year, I kind of use the strategy where I just dig a big hole and do kind of like clusters of them. Because I think that looks better too. Because the year before I had done really individual, like I did individual bulbs, but it spreads them out in a way that's kind of sometimes not as, I don't know, not as good. I like doing clusters. So I ended up doing 5,000 bulbs in addition to whatever had stayed from the year before. So it was just additive, but I planned it out so meticulously where I picked different kind of breeds of flower that would, or variations of flowers that some would bloom in like April, others would bloom in May, and then others would bloom in June. So they just like April came around, all these crocuses came up, like thousands of crocuses, right? They die. Thousands of daffodils come up. They die. Hundreds of allium, I don't even know how to say it. They're like these big, like globe looking things. They're like in the onion family, come up, you know? So it was just magical like this spring. And now he's so funny. He has me doing such random shit. Like I originally was just coming to, you know, I was going to go trim all those flowers down and then plant the annuals. So that's what I started doing. And it's coming out really good. Like, I mean, when you're planting thousands of annuals, I mean, they look, cause you know, he has like no limit with it. He's just like, yeah, but whatever you can get in the ground. I'm like, so do you have kind of like a range of like what you kind of want? And he's like, no, just put whatever you want. So it gives me a lot of artistic freedom, which is super sick. It's just whatever. So he's just so funny though, because like they have this beachfront kind of property, right? And he's like, I want a lavender field at the beach. And I was like, okay, like I think it's gonna die in the sand though. And he's like, I don't care if they die, we'll just about buy more next year. I'm like, dang, like that's at the point, right? So the other day we're down at the beach. I ended up making a really beautiful like lavender bed on the beach somehow, right? And I took like, I dug the holes, and then I took topsoil and I put them in the holes and like surrounded the plant in topsoil, because I was like, that's the only chance they're gonna have of surviving, because they can't grow in sand, right? So I tried my best. We'll see how that goes. But we're down at the beach, and he's like, I want this section. Well, you know, there's like woods basically on the side, or a couple of like spruce trees or whatever. He's like, I don't like this tree anymore. The man gets out a saw, immediately starts sawing down this tree. I'm like, hey, are you sure you want to do that? He saws it down. He's like, do you think we should put a boxwood here or a black pine? I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck am I getting a boxwood down these stairs? Because there's about 100 stairs to get down to this beach. How am I getting a pine tree in my car? How am I getting hit, right? But that's just like who Pete is. He doesn't really think it fully through. He just thinks what he wants. And then he's like, someone will figure out how to do this. And who figures out how to do it? Me. So sometime this week, I'm going to probably have a pine tree in the back of my car. And, long story short, that's how I think I got, that's definitely how I got these scratches, from all the weeding and all the strange bushes I've been planting. But I think that these are bug bites. So I don't know. At least I don't have fungus. Anyway, I don't know. I'm so tired. I was up all night last night. I was up till 4 a.m. staring at the ceiling, naturally, as one does. Because I don't know what it is with me. I get my most, and I think this is common, but I get most of my anxiety at night. And like, as we know, I'm very open about my OCD issue. Like, I have had actually what I would consider an influx of OCD in general, with certain routines. Like, it's funny how it works, how certain things I feel like I've actually gotten significantly better, but then like those 1 or 2 routines like just amp up significantly. And for me, it's like, say, brushing my teeth, which has always been my worst OCD ritual. And it's the one that has been the most consistent. Like, it was my first OCD ritual, and it will be my last. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get rid of everything else, but that will be my one. That's my mountain to climb, you know? And it's funny because that in particular, I've noticed these past couple of weeks has gotten really, really bad. Like, I, for a while, felt like I never had it quite under control, but I felt like it was manageable. And I just don't feel like it's in control. And it's funny because around that same time, the past couple of weeks, I've been having a lot more trouble sleeping at night, because I just wake up with like these obsessive thoughts, like existential obsessive thoughts, right? And naturally, existential crises and, you know, worries about, you know, like death and life and running out of time. Like, I think those are things that everybody has, right? But the difference is that I cannot stop thinking about it. And it also goes so contrary to my belief system. And that's, I think, for me, when it comes to like, say, obsessive thoughts, that's where I've been able to differentiate. Because I think a lot of times when people are having obsessive thoughts, they have trouble determining, is this an obsessive thought? Is this like anxiety and obsession? Or is this rational, really? And for me, I think the way I've been able to decipher which is which is, does this actually go along with my belief system? So like, example, say thinking about, like, say you're having trouble with a friend and you keep overthinking this argument and you're thinking like, oh, I fucked up or whatever, right? A healthy response to that is like, or an unhealthy response is if you're thinking and thinking and thinking with no resolution, or you're giving yourself a resolution and it's still not satisfactory, or you can't put it aside. Like, you can't say, oh, I have to go to work, I'll think about this later, I'll address this later, if it's constant. And if it's like, is this my beliefs? Okay, so I'm having trouble explaining what I'm trying to say. This happens to me a lot these days. My brain just, there's so many thoughts that, where does it go? So, okay, so we'll go back to the example of like my obsessive thoughts with existentialism, right? So, as we know, I'm a very spiritual person, right? I've been spiritual all my life. I truly do believe in God. I truly believe in a creator. I truly believe people when they tell me their testimonies of how God has worked in their life. I see how God has worked in my life. I live my life trying to honor God, trying to respect God, trying to represent him. I feel it in my soul and I feel it in my heart when I pray. I feel it around me, and like in that way there's very little doubt for me, right? However, at nighttime, all of a sudden all of those beliefs go out the window, and I'm like, I don't know, like I feel like I'm in a fucking crazy dimension and there's no meaning in life and what am I doing and blah blah blah, right? And I guess a good example is I also have trouble flying, but it's not because I believe the plane is going down. Like, I rationally know when I'm not on, like right now, I can say to you, air travel is historically really safe. I trust the pilot. I don't think the plane is going to crash. I'm not afraid of the plane crashing. I'm not afraid of anyone on the plane. But if you were to say, get on a plane right now, all of that rationale goes out the window, and all of a sudden, I don't think planes are suitable for me, right? So that's probably a better example than the one before, because you just see how fear can just twist you. It can just twist you, and it's something to be, I think, really aware of, because like I said, I think a lot of times people are maybe having obsessive thoughts and they don't even realize they're having them. And I think that's just a good rule of thumb to go by. You just think, if I wasn't worried about this, does this align with my values? Does this align with my beliefs? Yeah, I don't know. That's a side note I just got into because I just thought of it. And you know me, I love to talk about this stuff because I just think sometimes someone needs to hear it, right? Like, I wish people would talk about it more so that we could understand it better and that we wouldn't feel so, not even alone in it, but isolated or confused or whatever. So anyway, that's all I have to say today, guys. I can't believe it's been 40 minutes. I honestly, I'm okay, 12. My goal was 11:30. I'll be in bed by 12:15 probably. That's not bad, guys. That's way better than 4 a.m. But knowing me, I'm going to stay up and Snapchat my friends. I have so many. Did you guys, back in like 2018 or 2019, did you guys all have Snapchat friends that either you met on Tinder and like never actually met up? Or like the big thing for me was, because Long Island is only 14 miles, or it's like 20 miles away from Connecticut or something like that, because I live literally right at the coast. So a lot of times, like, I would match with people on Tinder from Connecticut. And also just my personality, as we know, I often would go on like quote Tinder dates, but it would really hang out with people and we'd never actually date. We'd just become friends, and I would like set them up with my friends and we go to parties. Like, we would just have a good time, because that's like who I was in 2019. And I still kind of am, like, deep down. But so I had a lot of like Snapchat friends from like, say, Connecticut, who I never actually met. And I never, you know what I mean? Like, never really had anything romantic with. We were just like, that we're never going to meet, but like, we're cool, you know? Or even people who lived on Long Island who I was like that with. So it's just funny because I have friends like all over the place, right? But I also have some from like Pennsylvania and Delaware, from like when I go and see my cousin, or just like internet friends from like TikTok now, from live streaming, whatever. And so it's so funny because it's just funny when I think about my life and some people or events in my life that were different because of people on the internet who I never actually met. Or remembering, oh yeah, I remember I was talking to so-and-so from Connecticut before I did this, or like at my graduation I was Snapchatting like my friend from, you know what I mean? And how influential those people can be, even though you're not even, like, even right now, I was like Snapchatting friends because I haven't really in a while. Like, I don't really go on Snapchat like that anymore now that I'm like an adult. But every so often I go on there and I'm like really check in with everybody. I'm like, how are you guys doing? And it's like, God, these people were so influential to me as like a 19-year-old. You know what I mean? And how much fun memories we've had through a phone. How funny, right? And how much I know about them and how much I feel like they know about me. And like, I think also people feel more able to open up to people in situations like that because you know you're not going to meet them, or you know that there's like a distance, right? Like, they're not going to go and tell your friend, like, gossip about you to your other friends, or like, I don't know. So anyway, I love you guys. Love you guys watching. Love you. You know who you are. But yeah, so anyways, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be up all night, like, sending stickers of like my dog to my friends. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, guys, I love you. Sorry, this was chaotic again, but I'll see you soon. I'll see you at the next episode. Maybe another clip will go viral. If you're seeing this, please tag Cody Simpson in that video. I still want to meet him. But anyway, all right, y'all. I'll see you next time. Love y'all.